What's up, mobile devs? Today we are going to build together this outstanding Skateboard Deck Onboarding animation. And basically here we have three different pages, and we have two different animations for each page. We are basically using a scroll view, and we are using the interpolate function in order to animate the circle scale, here it is, and in order to animate the skate rotation. So here we have also two different components. We have an icon button, and thankfully we have full control over the onboarding translate X value. And we have a Paginator component right here, where we are animating each dot. So here I highly recommend you to check out my previous video on the interpolate function and the scroll view. So I will put the link in the video description, because this video right here is a little bit more advanced. So to be honest, I've also taken inspiration from a dribble design, and I will put the link of this dribble design in the video description. And I've also taken inspiration from a Flutter developer that almost built the same animation in a speed code challenge. So this Flutter developer is called Devify, and I highly recommend you to subscribe to his channel. I will put, of course, the link of his channel in the video description. So that said, let's actually start to get our hands dirty, and let's jump to the code. Here I've created a React Native project with the Expo CLI. In this tutorial I've already defined some constants. So basically I've defined a page array, and inside each page we will use a title, a description, and an image source. So I've also defined a background color that will be used as our main background color inside the onboarding. So I've also installed inside the assets folder the 3 skates image, and finally I've installed the React Native Reanimated package, and basically here I have the version 2.2.0, but for this tutorial we will just need a version above the 2.0. So that said, of course, keep in mind that all the source code will be fully available on GitHub. So feel free to check out the link that I will put inside the video description. So let's moving on, and let's actually refactor a little bit this code. So first of all, we will use a background color from the constants, and we will use, in order to build up our onboarding, we will use a scroll view. So let's import the scroll view. So let's specify the style, and here let's map our pages. So let's say page index, and let's return for now a view. We will specify key equal to index to string. So this view right here will be our page. Since we will do a lot of stuff with our page component, let's create a specific component. I'm building the components folder, and here I will use I will specify the page component. So here we go, and let's actually use this page, import this page right here. So of course we need to specify the page props, and we will use as a props the page interface. So I've defined previously the page interface inside the constants folder, and basically we will have a title, a description, and a source for each page, as I told you before. So here inside the page props we will need this page interface. So let's specify the page as a React functional component with these props, and let's take this page right here. So we need to specify the width and the height of each image, of each screen of each page inside the onboarding, and we will use a width and a height equal to the width and the height of the screen. Therefore, let's actually use the dimensions API, and let's say here width equal to page width and height equal to page height. So here let's specify the container style, and we will have a width equal to page width and an height equal to page height. And let's pass this style right here. So styles.container. So for now we have a transparent background color, but we can already see that the scroll view is set up fine, and we can see it by this scroll indicator. So since we want an horizontal scroll view, we need to fix actually this scroll indicator. So let's specify here horizontal, and here we need to pass the page component. So right now we can see that the scroll indicator is on the horizontal axis. So first of all, here inside our page, let's add our circle. So we will have a white circle in the middle of the page. So let's specify here our, let's say, style.circle, and let's specify here the circle. So basically, we will define our circle width equal to page width multiplied by 0.7. So it will be the 70% of the page width. So the width will be equal to circle width. We will define the height equal to the width with the aspect ratio equal to 1. And here let's say background color of red for now. So since we want to define a circle, we need to specify here border radius equal to circle divided by 2, circle width divided by 2. So we need to center this circle. So let's say align items equal to center, and for now justify content equal to center. So here we can see that we have exactly 3 pages. So since we want the onboarding effect, let's specify inside the scroll view the paging enabled property equal to true. So here we can see it, and let's get rid of this scroll horizontal scroll indicator. So let's say scroll horizontal shows horizontal scroll indicator equal to false. So for now, let's focus on this page UI, and so what we need. Of course, we need to handle a title, a description, and we need to add our image. So first of all, let's add our skate image. And in order to do it, let's wrap the circle inside a view. And we will put the skate image above the circle. We will not put the skate image inside the circle, because later we will animate the scale of our circle, and we don't want that the scale of the skates of the skate image is animated. So you will see in a while what I'm talking about. So let's specify here the styles.circle container, circle container here. So basically we will specify here the width and the aspect ratio. So here let's say flex equal to 1, and let's put the image right here. So here we will use our skate image. So we need to import the image from React Native, and let's specify here the source as source the page source. So here we can see our skate image. So let's specify another style that will be our styles.imageStyle, and here we will have an height equal to page width multiplied by 0.5, so it will be the 50% of the width. And let's actually say page height, so the 50% of the screen height. Let's specify here the resize mode equal to contain, and I think it should be fine, but we need probably to specify aspect ratio equal to 1, and we need to center actually these items. So I think there is an issue with the flex 1 property. So let's say width equal to 100%, height equal to 100%. So here we go. And since we want to display the image above the circle, we need to specify here position absolute. So let's move the image above this circle, and here we go. So under the image and the circle container, we will have our title and our text title and our text description. So let's specify here the text component. Here we will define the page title, and here we will define our page description. So we need to add some margin bottom to our circle container. So let's specify here margin bottom equal to 100. Let's say 150. And let's add to the container some margin. So let's say some margin horizontal equal to 20. Probably padding horizontal. So let's say 50. And let's add a margin. Let's actually add the title style and the description style. So here let's specify the styles.title, and here the styles.description. So title, and here the description style. So we will need the text align property equal to center for both the title and the description. So let's add here a margin bottom of 20, maybe 15. Let's improve the font size with 35 or 30. Maybe 35 is a bit better. And let's specify a bold weight. So for the description, let's just resize a little bit the font, maybe 14. And let's fix the color with a gray color. So here we go. In the end, we just need to actually let's reduce a little bit the margin bottom. I think it's too much, so let's say 120. So in the end, let's just return back to our white color for our circle. So let's specify here the white color. So finally, we can start to animate the stuff. So in order to animate this stuff right here, we need to handle actually the ScrollView translate X property. And in order to handle it, we need to override the onScroll property. So we need to specify here the onScroll property. In order to do it, first of all, let's switch from the ScrollView from React Native to the ScrollView to the animated ScrollView from React Native Reanimated. So let's specify here animated. We are doing that because we want to use a specific hook from Reanimated that is called use animated scroll handler. So let's say scroll handler equal to use animated scroll handler. So this scroll handler is basically an hook from React Native Reanimated that help us to handle the event on the animated scroll view. So here we can access the onScroll event. So I need to fix it. So let's fix here, and let's specify here the onScroll event. So here we can access the onScroll event, and here we can access the content offset.x. So if you're not familiar with this hook, I highly recommend you to check out my video on the ScrollView, Interpolate and ScrollView. I will put the link in the video description. And basically, we need to assign the scroll handler to the onScroll property. So here it is. So right now, React Native will complain, I believe. So here we can see that we have some issues. Basically, we are specifying the onScroll property, but we are not specifying the scroll event throttle property. We need to specify it, so let's say scroll event throttle property equal to 16. So why this magic value? Basically, this number is telling to React Native, to the scroll view, how many times each seconds the onScroll method should be fired. So basically, since we want an animation we want that our animation run on 60 FPS, we want that the animations, the on-scroll property is handled each 16 milliseconds. So here we are specifying that we want to fire the on-scroll function each 16 milliseconds. And that's because we want an animation on 60 FPS. So that said, I think it should be great. And here we can see actually our content offset.x. So since this value is actually really useful, it's much better to store this value right here inside a shared value. So let's specify here the translate x shared value. And basically we have a translate x value with the initial value of 0. And here we need to assign the event content offset.x to the translate x value. So here we go. This value will be extremely helpful inside the page component, because with this value we will interpolate this value in order to animate this stuff on each page. So let's actually pass here the translate x shared value, and let's specify actually inside the page props the translate x shared value. So we are expecting an animated shared value of type number. So let's import animated from React Native Reanimated, and let's take this translate x value. So what do we want to animate? We want to animate our circle. Basically, we want to animate the scale of our circle, and we want to rotate our image. So since we want to animate these two components, we need to convert this component into an animated view and into an animated image. So that said, of course, we need to provide a specific reanimated style to each component. Let's focus for now on our circle. What we want to provide is a reanimated circle style, and it will be equal to use animated style. So here we are using a React Native reanimated hook. And for now, let's just return transform, and let's say scale equal to 1. So scale equal to 1 is just the default value. So let's assign here the reanimated circle style. So here we want to retrieve our scale, and in order to retrieve our scale value, so we need to retrieve our scale value from our translate x shared value. So let's say scale equal to interpolate, and here we need to interpolate, so we need to take the interpolate function from React Native Reanimated. And inside the interpolate function, we need to specify a number, so the number that we want to interpolate, the input range, the output range, and the extrapolate parameter. So we want to interpolate the translate x value. We need to specify here the input range and the output range that we will fix in a while. And we want to say that we want that when the output range is reached, we want to clamp our scale value. So in order to do it, we need to specify extrapolate.clamp. So for now, we need to specify here our input range and our output range. In order to build our input range, we will need the index property from the previous screen. So here we need to specify inside our page properties the index parameter. And here in the page props, we need to retrieve our index. So that is needed because we will define our input range from our index, from the index of each page. So the input range will be equal to index minus 1 multiplied by page width, so index multiplied by page width, and index plus 1 multiplied by page width. So of course I will explain it in a while. So let's assign this input range here, and I will specify for now these three different values for our scale value. So let's assign our scale to our transform, so to our circle style, and let's see what's going on. So we can see that the animation is working, but actually why it is working? It is working because we are mapping the input range to specific values. So let's, since the input range is different from each index, so for each different page, since it depends on the index value, let's focus just on the first page. On the first page, we will have the index equal to 0, and therefore the input range will be minus page width, 0, and page width. So if index is equal to 0, so for the first page, we will have that the input range will be equal to minus page width, 0, and page width. So these values, when translate x will be equal to page width, with the interpolate function, the scale value will be equal to 0. When the translate x will be equal to 0, the page value, the scale value will be equal to 1. And otherwise, when the translate x value will be equal to page width, our scale value will be equal to 0. So at the beginning, of course, our translate x value is equal to 0, and therefore our scale value is equal to 1. When we scroll a little bit, the translate x value is going to value page width. Therefore, our scale value is going from value 1 to value 0. And here we can see what's going on. So for the other index, of course, everything changes because we need to recalculate the input range by considering the index equal to 1. And you will see the same behavior for the first and the second index. So I hope that the interpolate was clear. We will use it also in order to rotate our skate. So right now, let's focus on our rotation animation on the skate. So in order to do it, the first thing to do is to define a reanimated image style, and we will use animated style. So here we want to evaluate the rotation. So let's say rotation, and let's interpolate the translate x value as before. So we need to define an input range, we need to define an output range, and we need to specify extrapolate.clamp. So actually for the rotation we will use the same input range as before. So let's take it and let's define it right here. So here let's specify input range, and inside the output range let's actually specify -1, 0, and 1. Or so let's specify actually -1, 0, and 1, and let's call it progress. So here let's return actually transform rotate, and we will use the radiant notation. So let's specify here progress, and let's multiply the progress by 2 multiplied by matpy. So let's actually see, of course nothing is working because we need to assign the reanimated image style to the animated image style. So let's see what's going on. So this animation is a bit too much, and that's because we are specifying here the -1. So we are doing a bit too much. Therefore, let's just animate, let's just specify 0, 0, 1. Let's see what's going on. And we can see that right now the animation, we are doing the animation just probably is also too much. So let's say progress multiplied by pi. So I think it looks better. So basically we are doing the same thing as before. We are just mapping the translate x value to the progress value, and the progress will be equal to 0 if the translate x is equal to index -1 multiplied by page width, or if the translate x value is equal to index multiplied by page width. Otherwise it will be almost equal to value 1. So that said, let's also animate the opacity. So let's retrieve the opacity of our image, and let's interpolate also this value. So here we need to specify the translate text value. We want to use the same input range as before, and here let's specify 0, 1, 0, and let's say extrapolate.clamp. So it is almost the same technique that we used before for the scale value. So let's assign here the opacity. So let's go. So maybe 0 is too much, so let's say 0.5, and let's see what's going on. So I think that the animation looks nice. So right now, what is missing? Basically, we have almost completed the animation for the page, but we need to handle the dots and the onboarding footer. So in order to do it, let's switch to the app component, and let's specify here the onboarding footer. So let's say actually footer. So for now, let's actually just use the views, and let's specify here the styles.footer. So the footer will have an height equal to 50, a background color equal to red, just to see something. Let's add also a margin bottom equal to, let's say, 50. And inside this footer, we will have 3 different sections. So let's actually define the first section here. This one will be our paginator. Here we will have the style that will be actually the text. So we will have view board. So let's say styles dot text container, and in the end we will have our icon. So let's say styles dot icon container. So of course we need to specify all these styles. So let's start. The first one should be the paginator. Actually, let's define a unique style that will be called flex fill center, and let's specify here align item center and justify content center. And let's get rid of all these different styles. So let's just specify here that this one will be our paginator. Actually, let's specify here paginator. This one will be our text container. So let's say text container. And here we will have our icon container. And let's specify fill center. So inside this text container, let's specify our text, and let's say here view board. And we need to add our styles.text. So here the text will be with a font size of let's say 15, maybe 20, or maybe just 18. So let's apply text transform equal to uppercase. Let's say letter spacing equal to 1.7. So maybe 16 instead of 18. And let's apply a font weight equal to 500. So I think it looks great. Maybe 14 is a bit better. And let's specify here our paginator. Actually, in the end, we will handle the paginator. Let's specify just for now the icon. So here we need to provide the arrow icon. In order to provide this arrow icon, usually I like to use this website, and what I want is just an arrow, right? So this one looks great. So let's import undesign from Expo Vector Icons. and let's render the component. So here we go. So of course we need to fix this style. By default, the footer will have flex direction equal to column, but we want a flex direction equal to row. So here it is. So basically we have the icon here, we have the text here, and we need our dots. So basically inside this paginator, we need to map our pages, and we need to specify actually the index, and we don't need the specific page. And here we need to specify actually the dot. So this view right here will be our dot. So since we will do a lot of stuff also with the dot component, it is a better option to specify the dot component as a unique component right here. So let's build up this .tsx. I will use the React Native snippets as before, and let's define the dot props. So const dot will be a React functional component with these props. And for now, let's just export the dot, and let's import it right here. So let's fix this style. So we want to specify a style for our dot, and let's actually say styles.dot, and let's say width equal to 20, height equal to 20. Let's add a background color just to see something. Let's say red. Actually, let's say black. So here we have the same issue as before. Here we have 3 different dots. But let's actually add a margin. We have 3 different dots, but we need to specify here inside the container flex direction equal to row. So let's specify border radius equal to 10, and let's improve a little bit the margin. So let's say margin horizontal equal to 5. So I think that for now it looks great. So for each dot, what we want to know? We want basically just to know if the dot is active. So let's import here is active, and let's avoid for now this background color, and let's add the border width equal to 1, and we will handle the background color as an animated style. So we want actually to handle the animation of our view, and in order to do it, we need to use an animated view, and we need to import animated from React Native Reanimated. So we need to add also a reanimated, let's say reanimated.style. That will be an animated style, and here we will handle the background color. So for now we will just use a background color equal to white. So let's say reanimated dot. So basically what we want is that if the dot is active, we want to use a black color. Otherwise we want to use a white color. So of course we need to handle this this value right here inside the app.tsx file. So here we need to find a way to retrieve the current active index, and the active index can be easily retrieved by deriving the translate text value. So basically the active index is just equal to the translate text value, so the amount that we have scrolled on the horizontal axis, and the page width. So we have retrieved the page width right here inside the page component, and we need to export it right here. So let's say export page width. So we need to import the page width here, and we want that the active index, of course, is it isn't a decimal value. So let's round it with mat.round. So at this point we should be able to understand if which dot should be active. So instead of using the isActive parameter, let's specify here the active dot. And the active dot will be equal to ActiveIndex.value, actually to ActiveIndex. So we want to pass the shared value. So here let's specify actually active dot. Active dot index maybe is a little bit better. So let's say active dot index. And here let's say animated shared value equal to number. So of course we need also the dot index. So let's say just index. And let's pass here the dot index. So basically the dot will be active if the active dot index value is equal, actually here it isn't optional, if the active dot index value is equal to the dot index. So let's see if everything is working. So we can see that the animation is working, but of course we are not animating, we are just updating the UI. In order to have a smooth animation, we can specify here, we can wrap this condition with the with timing hook from React Native Reanimated. And let's see what's going on. So we can see that the animation is much smoother than before. So actually, let's use a duration of 150. So I think that the animation right now looks pretty nice. So at this point, the missing piece is just this icon right here. So this arrow icon. And what we want to do, we want just to be able to click on this icon and to go to the next onboarding page with, of course, with an animation. And in order to do it, let's first specify here the onPress property. So we are specifying the onPress function on the icon, on the ant design icon. Let's create the onIconPress callback with use callback hook from React. So let's say use callback, and so let's assign this onIconPress. And here what we want to do is that we want to handle the scroll view, and we want to translate the scroll view to the next page. So in order to handle the scroll view, we need to pass to the scroll view a reference, and we can handle this reference inside the onIconPress callback. So let's define here a scroll ref with the use animated ref. So use animated ref is from Reanimated, and let's specify here the scroll view. So let's assign here the scroll ref. So I think we need an animated to pass the animated scroll view. And in the onIconPress, we can specify the scroll ref dot current dot scroll to method. So here I've noticed, I don't know if I'm wrong, but I've noticed a strange behavior, because if here I fix with the scroll view, I can finally see the callback on TypeScript. So I don't know if I'm missing something, but if I fix this type right here, I have the error on the reference. Otherwise, I have the error on the scroll to method. So since I prefer to have the types specified for this method right here, I will just close my eye and I will specify scroll ref as any. So we want actually to scroll on the horizontal axis. So we want to specify here the X value. And basically, we just want to scroll to the next page. So the next page can be easily retrieved by type page width multiplied by active index index.value plus 1. So of course, if we are on the last page, so if index.value is equal to page, let's say page.length minus 1, we just want to return. So let's see if everything is working fine. So we can actually see that the animation is working nicely. So I hope actually that this tutorial was clear. I know it is a little bit more complex than my other videos, but of course feel free to check out my other series on Reanimated. I think it could be really helpful for this kind of animations. So thanks a lot for staying with me all that time. If you have enjoyed this video, feel free of course to leave a comment, leave a like, and if you like this content, feel free also to subscribe to the channel.